Hello and welcome to our December edition of the Mourneview Monthly. A very happy Christmas to you all. This edition of the Mourneview Monthly is slightly different than usual because I'm sitting down with Glenavon boss Gary Hamilton. Gary's marking 10 years with the Lurgan Blues, and in this episode I'll be looking back over the last decade, the highs, the lows, and of course I'll look to the future. Gary, can you believe it's 10 years?
No, Michael. It's a long time in football, and the longest I've ever been at any one club, and the furthest I'd ever lasted was 6 years, I think, at one club. But you know, this is my hometown team. I come in here to do a job, and I wanted to try and improve the club and make it better and get it challenging for trophies again and get to Europe again, and thankfully we were able to achieve that.
What are your memories of getting the job? Because I remember you saying the other day that we were talking, you were actually on the way to the Oval whenever you were phoned, be told you had an interview.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I was actually on my way down to training at Glenavon, and I was on the phone at the time negotiating the fee to get out. And I just got about 2 miles from the Ramada Shaw's Bridge, was where we were training at the time, and I got about 2 miles away, and I ended up agreeing with Terence Brannigan the fee to get myself out of the club. And I went into the training ground and said bye-bye to all the Glenavon boys who loved my time there as well, obviously, and I wanted to say bye-bye to the boys, and I got in the car and turned around and come straight to Mourneview and had a chat with the players. It wasn't formally announced till Thursday, but it was that Tuesday, and it was just a strange scenario, but you know, it was something I was desperate to do, and thankfully we got it over the line, and I ended up here. You
mentioned that press conference. I remember it because I was here, and I just remember seeing you were like a child at Christmas.
Yeah, it was.
Must be very excited.
Yeah, it was. It was a big thing, and I'd been in here in loan the season before, and listen, I loved playing here. I loved being here, and you know, at that stage, I needed a challenge in my career, and at that stage, Glenavon were starting to slip down the other way, and they weren't challenging for trophies as much. I was out of contract at the end of that season as well, and you know, for me, that was a new challenge. You know, it was a new challenge to come to my hometown football club and get them challenging for trophies again, move them up the league table, and you know, they've been in the bottom positions for far too long, in my opinion. And you know, thankfully we've been able to do that, and you know, it's something that I'm very proud of.
You had a bit of a baptism of fire as well. And that first game was Linfield, but one thing I remember from that game was how you rocked out in the jeans and trainers and all that. For me, it was like a sign that things were going to be very different around here.
Yes, it was different to a lot of people, but as I said, it was something. It's just the way I've always been. You know, I've done my own thing. I've done things my own way when I've played football, and I've done it my own way since I've come into management as well. And you know, I'm not really into my appearance. I'm just into doing things in the right way on the football pitch and off the football pitch. And thankfully, you know, I always said it's like players in boots these days and everything else. It's not the boots. It's what's in the boots, and it's not how I look. It's how I act and what I do and behind the scenes.
We avoided relegation that year, and then over the course of the next few seasons, it was steady progress up until 2014 when that culminated in winning the Irish Cup. That must have been some achievement for you, Gary.
Yeah, it was the biggest achievement in my career. Everybody knows this club means so much to me and my family. My 2 uncles played here. My granddad supported the club all his life. You know, my daddy brought me to games when I was younger, and you know, I supported them until I went to England. And you know, for me to win a trophy and get on the pitch as a player, but also be the manager, you know, was the biggest thing I've ever done. And listen, I know a lot of people will look at it and say you played for your country and everything else, and yes, it was a massive achievement of mine, playing for the country as well. But for me, whenever I was growing up as a young boy, I wanted to win a trophy for Glenavon Football Club, and you know, I never managed to be able to do that as a player. But you know, thankfully, whenever I come here as a manager, I was able to do it as a player manager, and I was able to, you know, make people like myself and people that have knew for a long time following the club and growing up with them following the club. I was able to make a lot of other people happy, and you know, that was a massive thing for me. You've
had a lot of challenges during your time as manager, and in 2014, of course, the team that day was led out by Mark Farren. I know you're down at his book launch the other day. How did his death impact you, and how did it drive you on then, you know, for the future, for more success?
Yeah, well, Mark's had a big impact on my life, to be totally honest with you. from a bottom to the football club, we become a personal friend, and you know the players will tell you, listen, I love all the players and I have a lot of respect for everybody that's played under me, but you know Mark was somebody that I took to on a personal note, and you know even before you know he took bad again with the tumour again. Me and him but struck up a really good friendship, and you know I just watched him whenever he come in to train and play here, and you know for me I was still learning off him as a striker. You know he was phenomenal. His finishing was the best I've seen. You know I always said about David Healy and Alan Shearer, but Mark was as good a finisher as I've ever seen in terms of hitting the target consistently. His attitude, his desire, his hunger, you know, it rubbed off on me. It rubbed off on the other players, and he was so hungry to be successful, and that's why he's broke the record at Derry City. And obviously when he come here, he scored 10 goals in I think it was 16 games at one stage, in a really poor team. Not being disrespectful, but that's the way it was. And then the impact of him passing away, you know, had a big impact on me as well in my personal life. I obviously was a person that took a lot of things home with me in football, and you know I got down a lot over football, and you know whenever I looked at Mark, and whenever I went up to visit him the last time I seen him before he passed, you know, it had a massive impact on me in terms of the way my outlook on life since that. You know, yes, I get down still when I get beat, but nowhere near the way I used to. You know, I go home now, I'm able to forget about it on a Sunday and start preparing for the next game, and that's it. You know, Saturday night, of course, you're inhuman if you don't get down and you don't get gutted about defeats. But as I say, I'm now able to turn around on a Sunday and switch off, and you know that's my only day off, and switch off and start preparing again for the next week and go again Monday. And you know, I love Mark to bits. I loved his family, and as I say, he's had a massive impact. And I was honoured to be asked to go down to the book launch the other night. And as I say, he's had a massive impact on the 2 trophies that we won as well.
Funny you mentioned that second trophy. Was going to come to that. There's after 2014, there was more progress. Obviously, finished third, and then we won the Irish Cup again for a second time. Now, I think for me, the standout performance of that run was the semi-final. Obviously the final was spectacular itself, but the semi-final and Kevin Braniff, his performance was unbelievable.
Oh, he was incredible that night, and you know Kevin was a player that was unbelievably talented. The only criticism I had of Kevin was that he didn't do it consistently enough for the talent that he had. He was unbelievable. He could win a game on his own, and he did it that night. He scored 4 goals. It was probably the best individual performance I've seen in my time at Glenavon from a one-off game. And he was unplayable that night. And I used to harp on at Kevin all the time, get yourself in the box, because he was such a good finisher. But he always done a lot of his work outside the box. And that night, I think, off the top of my head, I think he scored at least 3 of them inside the box. And he went to the Irish Cup final and scored a winner inside the box as well. And that was my biggest gripe with him. He never ever listened a lot of the time. But when he did listen and when he did do that, he was unplayable.
We had some great European nights as well down the year. Memorably, Molde here, managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and with Erling Haaland in the team as well. I mean, again, another great night.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, you know, and Ole was so graceful in defeat. He was a gentleman. He stood out in the car park for half an hour at least, signing autographs and everything after. But you know, we deserved it that night on the night, and you know, we had 11 outstanding performances, plus the people that come on off the bench, and you know, for us to put in a performance against a team like that who hadn't been beaten that year at that stage, and to beat them here in our own home patch 2-1, and deservedly so as well. Nobody could have looked at that performance and said we didn't deserve it. And that's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said to me after the game. You know, you deserve your victory today, and you know, it was one of them performances again that you look back on and it made you proud.
There were high hopes after that we would probably kick on, maybe try and challenge for a league title, but it just hasn't quite happened yet, Gary. I mean, how disappointing has that been for you?
Yeah, it's tough, it's difficult. A lot of life comes down to finances, unfortunately, and that's not an excuse. That's reality of life. You know, to get to the next level, to win the league title, you need to be able to attract the bigger players, and 4 or 5 of them. 1 or 2 is maybe not enough. You know, when yes, we've built a lot of good teams here, and the probably the most frustrating thing for me, I think, if we'd have kept all the players together that we've brought through over the years, I think we would certainly be challenged for league titles. But unfortunately, you know, they get to the stage where they're good players, they can be offered attractive money elsewhere, you know, and that's what football is, you know, and I can accept that because I was a footballer myself as well, and it's difficult as a manager because you can't keep them at the football club, and you've maybe built a team and you've brought through players, and you're thinking if you keep these players together, you know, this could be one of the teams that could win the league for this club. But unfortunately, you lose them one by one. And you know, I've said a lot of times in interviews, you know, if you look at the team, take a goalkeeper out of it. You look at the team that we've brought through, Reece Marshall, you know, we give Daniel Larmour a chance, we've given Keelan Marin a chance, Singy's still here. You look at right wing, George Daniels has got his chance here, he wasn't getting much game time at Derry. Mark Sykes has come through as a young kid, Bobby Burns, you know, come through. Then you'd Ben Doherty played on the left as well, you know, he come down after not really getting a chance at Derry. We weren't able to keep him either. And then you look up front, Shane Lavery went to Everton, Robbie McDade went to Leeds, and you look at what they had done when they come back. They've both been prolific, and you know, those are players that have all come through, and you know, it's something I'm proud of as well, that it was a part of their journey in football, and give them the opportunity to go on and better themselves. And this football club provided that opportunity as well. And I know now, because a lot of them stay in contact, I know now a lot of them are very, very thankful of what Glenavon Football Club did for them.
I suppose one of the things that there's been real progress in during your 10 years has been at the academy. And you mentioned earlier on some of the players that have come through. I mean, again, another great achievement.
Yeah, probably one of the things I'm most proudest of, because whenever I come here, you know, our academy started at 11 years of age, and all the rest of academies were starting at 6. And you know, it's something with young kids. When they start at 6 years of age and they get in with a team and they've got mates, it's very, very hard to disperse that. And then what was happening at 11 years of age, and we were starting a new team, we weren't getting the best players here because they hadn't been playing with each other, and they hadn't got friends and that were at the club. So it was really, really difficult. But thankfully, you know, we got that after the first sort of year, and we got settled with the first team and everything else around us. We thankfully got the academy starting at 5-6 years of age, and we've seen fruition from that. We've seen a lot of good young kids come through. Our academy's in a really good place now, and under the guidance of Jason Keenan and Chris Chambers and all the rest of the outstanding coaches that we have at that level. And there's some really, really talented young players at it as well.
You have a good relationship with all those coaches, plus the first team coaches as well. You know, I'm sure you want to pay tribute to them for the work they've put in over the years.
Yeah, listen, I'm here 10 years, but I can hold my hand up and say that it's been a lot of it has been down to the coaching staff that I've had. Starting out at the start, you had Wendy, and then obviously you've had Brian McLaughlin's been here, you've had Stephen McBride's been here, you've got Norman Kelly's been here, you know, Paul McAreevy, Andy Mazin, you know, and Kyle Neal, Mark Ferguson, you know, Reggie, you know, there's been so many. Listen, all the staff, you know, like Blackie, Docs, physios that I've had, Lynn, and obviously now Chris, and all these people play a massive, massive part. You know, Johnny Pollock as a goalkeeping coach, the reserve team coaches that we've had over the years, and the ones that we have now. These are massive, massive parts of any football club, and you know, they've been massive for me, and you know, I'm so thankful for everything they've done for me. A lot of them are really personal friends, and so it's a lot bigger than football. They're my social life as well as my professional life, and you know, they're people that I trust with my life, and people that know me know that I don't really have a lot of friends. I'm quite somebody that keeps himself to himself, but you know, with people like that, I could trust them on my life, and you know, I enjoy their company, and I love working with them.
You're now the second longest serving manager at the club, considering that in the 10 years before you were here, Glenavon went through 8 managers. What does that say about your relationship with the chairman? Because I mean, the two of you get on like really, really well.
Yeah, listen, the chairman's a personal friend as well. It's somebody that I have a lot of time for, a lot of respect for. You know, I can work well with him, and you know, listen, that's been a big reason why I've been able to stay here 10 years as well. You know, I've had opportunities to leave and go other places, but you know, I could never do that to the chairman. I could never do it to the sponsors as well, and the Irwins. They've been outstanding. Gordon, Gary, Ian, Andrew, you know, they've been superb with me the whole 10 years I've been at this football club. The support they've given me, the chairman, all the directors that have been here, the support they've given me, you know, makes it possible to do what I've done and stay at a football club for 10 years, because you know, in this day and age, it's few and far between people that stay in a job like this for 10 years, and you know, but it also, on the flip side, that you know, when I took the job, I wanted to be here as long as I could. You know, I wanted to be the longest serving manager. You know, you have to have an aim, and you have to have a belief in yourself and a drive in yourself to be something and do something and achieve something, and thankfully I've been able to stay here 10 years, and listen, I want to be the longest serving manager of the football club.
The board have obviously backed you, and they've allowed you to bring in players and develop players. Who do you think in your time have been the best players?
There's been a lot. Mark Farns was a massive one, although we didn't get many games out of him or a long stint out of him. But for me, he was a massive, massive person at this football club. He influenced a lot of things that happened in terms of the Irish Cup wins, and his professionalism around the football club rubbed off on a lot of players. Kieran Martin for me was another massive, massive player. Somebody I have a lot of time for, a lot of respect for. Again, somebody that was underestimated in my opinion. You know, he wasn't given the credit he deserved by any support that they played for, where I was Glens or Glenavon. I just thought he was a top player, and what he gave to the football club was amazing. But listen, I could talk and talk and talk. There's been so many players at this club that has influenced the football club, but you know, Kyle Neils was amazing as well for me. He's a personal friend, but you know, he's at the club as well, and his influence around the club, whereas was as a player, as now in the coaching staff. You know, people like that, you know, they're few and far between, and they're worth their salt. As I say, they're top people as well, off the pitch as well. You can trust them, and they go about their business in the right manner. And you know, as I say, they've all been top players, but you know, there's been so many. You know, listen, it's very hard of me to individually single people out, because you know, I don't like doing that, because there's so many people who have influenced what we've done at this football club. And you know, but definitely Kieran Martin was a massive one for me. Mark Farn was a massive one for me, and Kyle Neal's been a massive part of my football life.
One last question you were pleased to hear. We talked last year, you signed a new deal. Whenever we were doing the interview to announce your new deal, my camera decided to pack it in, and the question I was going to ask you was, where do you see us going over the course of the remainder of that contract? So with that in mind, in the next, I don't know, wasn't it a 3-year deal?
I think I've got 3 after this.
3 year, yeah, 3.5, wasn't it? What's the plans? What's the hopes?
Listen, I'm a winner. You know, I'm somebody that wants to win things. I think the best possible route for that at this minute in time is probably cups. While the big clubs have the money and they're full time, the leagues are really tough, and it's a really difficult task. You know, and you can't set yourself goals that are impossible, because then you'll always feel like you're a failure. So as I say, we want to try and get into positions that we can get European football back here again. To do that, you have to finish 7th to have any chance of that in terms of playoffs. Other way of doing that is maybe a really good season, and maybe some finishing 3rd in the league and getting through that way. That's the other one. But you know, nowadays it's so difficult, and all of us part-time teams are feeling that. But I just want to keep improving this football club, keep being able to compete with the bigger teams, and you know, go out in matches knowing you have a chance of winning them. You know, not like whenever I was here at the start, when I was going to Linfield, and I was going to myself, how much is this going to be today? You know, we knew we were getting beat before we even went down there. But I think now, you know, as much as, you know, you play the top sides and you go to Larne and you go to Linfield and they're favourites in the match, you always know that on any given day we can shock these teams.
I know I said that was the last question, but do you know your stats?
No, I don't actually know.
Right, you've played 464 as manager. How many have we won, do you think, roughly?
200.
215. It's all right. 87 draws, 162 losses, but we'll kite over those. 943 goals in that time, which isn't bad. 743 conceded.
Yeah, we would expect that. I think that's the way we've always been, you know. And you know, as I say, it's something that I like to do. I'm a forward player. I like to play attacking football. I like to score goals. I like my team to score goals. And obviously, 3 years sometimes that has an impact on the other side. But you know, that's football. You want to entertain people. You want to put bums in seats, and you know, that's what I try to do. But you know, sometimes it can be difficult. You know, sometimes we'll all go through, you know, rough patches in football, rough seasons in football. That's the way it is. You know, I always go back to Davy Jeffrey's one of the best managers about, and has been for a long time. Finished 2nd 1 year with Bellarmine, in the following year they finished 10th. That's football, and it's a crazy game. And one year you can be brilliant, and the next year nothing can go for you, and you can slip down the table. You know, and that's just the way it is.
Plus 200 goal difference, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And just one thing, Michael, to finish off, I'd just like to obviously thank my family for everything. You know, they're a big support to me as well. And my 2 boys, you know, they've been outstanding. And as I said, you know, obviously my granda was a massive influence in my life, as was my granny, and they used to come and watch me all the time. You know, it's on I miss. You know, I miss my granda. I miss my granda not being about. You know, he had a massive impact on my life, and as a manager, you know, he used to be able to talk to me after games, give me criticism, you know, give me praise and give me whatever I needed, you know, and it's something I really, really do miss, and, you know, it's something, there's not a day goes past without thinking about him, you know, and I just was so glad that I was able to win the 2 trophies while he was still alive, and managed to let him see us winning a trophy at Glenavon and me being part of it.
He's a great man. Gary, thanks very much.
Thanks.